We're all dealing with feeling. We're all coping with feeling. Looking inside your heart is the place that you should start. Then you can heal. Then you can be real. So open up your heart. It's time to start. Dealing with feeling. Coping with feeling. Open up your heart. It's time to start.
Welcome to Dealing with Feelings and Jim and Karen's Feeling Fridays. I'm Karen White Porter, author, and this is my husband, Dr. Jim Porter, mental health counselor. And we are working diligently to build a set of children's books. Well, actually, I'm writing them, and Dr. Porter is consulting with me, that will help children become more emotionally literate. And the hopes of all of these series is that each time we look at emotions under the microscope and see how they affect us in our lives, we will become more compassionate people with the ability to forgive and build empathy and build peace in our world. So let us get started here with today's emotion. Are you ready for this? Today's emotion is inspiration.
Inspiration. All right, that sounds nice.
Okay, so here we go. I am going to show you a little guy here who's very much inspired, and his name is Ed. And he is one of the main characters in our series called the I Feel When children's book series. They're a basal set of readers that help children learn how to read, and they use pretty much only basal words. That means beginning sight words.
But there I see him.
Yeah, but we use one big old feeling word, and just the big old feeling word for today is inspired. So the title of this book is I Feel Inspired When You Ride a Bike with Me.
Aha.
And here's,
Starts off right away.
oh, look at Ed. Does he look inspired right there?
That looks inspired, yeah. Look at Deb, Ed, set. I'm ready. Look, I can ride a bike, Deb said. Ed said, I want to ride my bike. Okay, I was wondering if the three dots were intentional. So they both have bikes. Okay, Deb said, I can show you how to ride. Ed said, I cannot ride. Oh boy. I will. I hope you try, Deb said. I will try, Ed said. I feel inspired when you help me ride, Ed said. Ed said, I want to ride my bike. Okay. Sit here, Deb said. Thank you, Ed said. Now come here, Deb said. I will try to, Ed said. I feel inspired when you ride a bike with me. That's Ed, I suppose.
That's it. That's the end.
That's Ed, yeah.
Yeah, that's Ed.
What inspires you? Why? How can you help yourself be inspired? One thing I would say is...
Oh, wait, there's a mistake here. It said friends is spelled wrong, sorry.
What? There's more? What?
No, keep going. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, what inspires your friends? Why? How can you help them be inspired? What inspires your family? Why? How can you help them be inspired? So I have weird ideas coming into my head. One is, from watching the book, how does a kid know what inspired means?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's stop there for a second and talk about that. And then I want to show you a quote at the end later on that an inspiring friend shared with me. Okay, so let's talk about this. How does a child know they are inspired?
How does a child, I would say, how does a child reading your book know what inspired means? I guess is, yeah. So
Okay.
So that's what I was asking. And they might say, watching somebody do something makes me want to do that. Or they might say, watching
Oh wait, you froze.
something makes me want to do my, pardon?
Could you repeat that? Because I think you froze for a minute.
Oh yeah, I know I froze. I saw myself freeze. Um, so
Or
yeah, so watching somebody ride a bike makes me want to do my particular thing. So I'm not saying this is a necessity. I'm just thinking of the word inspired. It's a very big word. What is it synonymous with? Motivated, excited. It's not like awe. Awe is different, right?
well, when I looked up the definition, awe is part of inspired. So if it's looking at something in awe.
Mm-hmm.
It's observing something and being in awe of it.
Right. So there would be two different types of awe. The kind of awe that makes you just go, and nothing else necessarily has to happen. It's just this profound, incredible thing. Did I freeze again? So did you. That was interesting. Probably it will only look like I froze. So did you hear what I said about the, okay, so there's this concept of awe in my mind. That's another thing, because I think of an emotion a certain way, it doesn't mean the same thing as anybody else. But when I think of awe, I think of like just, and you're just kind of, it's wordless. There's no way to describe it. You're gasping, you're just moved. The sun is shining over the mountain and stuff like that. And inspire might be something like that, but the emotion is less intense it's the emotion is less broadly overwhelming. It gets you just like, yeah, man, I want to do my thing, or I want to do that thing that the person's doing. So what about one of those moments where there's like a halo of light over the kid and he says, I feel inspired, or something like that?
I like it. So maybe I should really build up that Deb going up and down the mountain
Yeah,
and watching, and then the light glowing bigger and bigger and bigger.
that's pretty cool, because the mountains and the greenery are just perfect. The idea of being outdoors in nature and seeing the hills, that already sets up the framework for
I
inspiration.
like that idea.
Yeah, that's fun.
It is something, and I picked bicycling because this is something a lot of children can identify with at that age.
Yeah.
Learning how to ride a bicycle. And when you do, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's right. You could have the big halo of light or sunlight or the sun's rays or whatever when he rides the bike, but when he sees the other person. I guess you could decide what the best place to put it in.
I could put a little heart here and then like make it glow or something.
You could have it glow bigger or smaller, or rays coming out. Yep.
I think I'm just going to put it around it because I don't want to get into that kind of.
That's right, because that has definite Christian denomination that generally goes along with like a heart with the Sacred Heart type thing.
Yeah.
Which is great, but again, the book is also about the general emotion of inspiration, not just the spiritual experience. only this. Does that mean I just froze? I'm a freezer.
I know what is happening is our internet connection is unstable today.
Well,
So-
okay, I just pretended. But wait, are we done with our video? That was 5
no,
minutes
no, no,
long.
no. Okay, so here we go.
I haven't seen the whole story, have I?
That was pretty much it. So how
Oh, okay.
did we resolve it? I think there's something else, an element in here that I think is really important, and that is Deb. There's something altruistic when we get into inspiration going on. And I'm not sure exactly what it is, and I can't put my finger on it.
I think that's a
But
good thing.
I would like to explore that. You know, we were talking this morning at breakfast. Yeah, that was something that was an issue, you know. So let me pull up this thing here, just 1 second. Okay. So, you know, I was thinking about right now what's going on in Ukraine, and how perhaps the fact that these people, you know, they're able to do more because they're inspired by Zelensky. You know, he's
Yeah.
so and I just read this morning about a dissertation that somebody wrote on inspiration. We don't look enough at the positive emotions when we're doing research. We have such a kind of a disease model of education. I don't know what it's like in therapy, but we always look at the problems. You know, what's this problem emotion we want to cope with? Well, what about the good ones that we could instill in one another? You know, so the inspiration is a good emotion. And so here's some activities I have for kids. I want to put that in there. And then I was talking to Helen Hooley, and she is reading this person, a spiritual Rinpoche, Chogyam Trungpa, about inspiration. Just so happens. And she gave me this quote, and it said, "In the garden of gentle sanity, may you be bombarded with coconuts of wakefulness."
Mhm.
And the structure that they said 4 tips to become more inspired is: do not set a target for an arrow to hit you.
To
So
hit.
just to hit, yeah. And connect to your heart and see obstacles as teachers and regard all that is as a dream. And I was thinking at, you know, kids, and I was thinking about Ed in particularly in this story.
Mhm.
And I noticed that Ed chooses to look at Deb not with jealousy, but with awe. I mean, some kids will see this other kid on a bicycle and they'll steal the bicycle. I mean, I'm just saying, I mean, I've known a lot of different types of children. And some kids will, you know, make Ed crash, and some out of jealousy, and other kids will cheer them on. And other kids might be afraid, you know. So what is it about Ed that made Ed be inspired and see Deb in that way?
You know, that reminds me of just a book thing. I didn't notice, but it was probably there. A look of awe or inspiration. I didn't see one. Was there one there?
In the
him?
story?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that the beginning picture has it.
It looks like a person smiling. to me as a kid.
Does it?
I'm an 8-year-old kid right now.
Okay,
No,
so
I'm
what
so
would we need to
important.
do to make him more inspired?
Mouth agape, eyes wide, maybe.
A little
Maybe
wider?
maybe stars in the eyes. I don't know if that's too.
Oh, yeah, little stars.
I don't know.
Okay.
And I'm just playing around with ideas because I don't have to follow through.
Yeah, that won't be hard to do. But and then this little with his
That looks inspired to me in a way. It looks like just like gleefully excited about what they're seeing, filled up with joy. So
yeah.
yeah. But it would be funny to have a close up.
Yeah, I could work on that.
Yeah, well, we already talked about the halo around him or the rays shooting out of the body or whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody will think it's literal. I mean, the kid might think it's literal. The kids are so great at taking the literal and figurative together.
I like that idea. But yeah, and so he is choosing, and I don't know if that's like personality that makes some kids look at a situation and say, oh, how can we make lemonade today and have a lemonade stand? Or, dang, these lemons are sour. It's always a choice. Everything we do is a choice. And how, but how exposing people to good choices, like showing them Ed making the choice to be in awe and inspired.
Well, I would say I'm not sure if emotions are choices, but I would say emotions can be made more likely by experience and also, the way you've learned to think about things and life circumstances and the weather.
Yeah. But what's interesting in writing these books, I've noticed that, when I did the Blue Christmas book, I was just kind of blue a lot, And then when I'm writing this, it was like, oh, this is fun. I feel so inspired. And so I think they have sort of it's sort of like that research they did with the monkeys and that yawning.
Well, yeah, that's right. We are connected emotionally. We signal emotionally to each other. We transmit, we transfer, and we do it in physical ways with the crinkle of our eyes and the rate of our breathing and all these things that we pick up on in this just sort of holistic way through our neurology and our sensory, and we turn that into an experience. And then, so yeah, that's what I was thinking. When you're writing the book about the blues, not only were you probably writing it close to the winter season and everything, but also you were doing things that sort of exposed you to the elements of the blues. And then this time you were doing things that expose you to the elements. And I would say that's the way it happens, is through experience, it sounds like maybe too dry to say it, but like studying happiness may trigger, may stimulate some happiness.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to like sell a picture where a person can just be happy all the time.
No.
The emotions come and go and up and down, but yeah, you're cultivating is what it seems like when you're writing a particular book and you get the feelings that are about that book's title feelings. That's cultivating it. And probably though, there are times when you open up that same book about happiness and you're like, oh, I got to edit this again. And I got to slide this over. So, I mean,
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, but when I'm doing the art, it's like, but what do you think about clients when I've heard you talk about this concept in cognitive behavioral therapy about, fake it till you make it. It's like exposing yourself to a pattern of thinking or just doing it, like behaving as if, and then all of a sudden it happens.
Yeah, that's a strategy for some things. It can be a strategy for emotions. In my opinion about that, there are a lot of emotions that stop people from trying things. And a lot of us will wait for the emotion before we do the thing. So let's say we're afraid of asking someone out on a date. Well, we're thinking we're going to wait till we're brave, till we feel brave to ask someone on a date. And I often tell people, a lot of times you feel brave after you've asked the person out on a date. Or you might feel like a basket case afterwards, but either way, the expression is kind of feel the fear and do it anyway, you know.
Yeah.
I think fake it till you make it is similar, but you're right. Fake it till you make it could be like you're kind of going around faking, like what's another word? You're playing, you know, you're like fronting. I think that could go well and it could go poorly. But sometimes you have to do, I think fake it till you make it is another way sometimes of saying do the right behaviors. And every once in a while, you'll have the associated emotional experience.
Yeah.
So, you know, people who work hard for a goal are going to have all kinds of emotions. And at some point, joy or hope might show up. And a lot of times, let's say, if they're working hard, they might have a culmination and create the thing they've been trying to create the whole time, or just a reward from the outside. And yes, so fake it till you make it has a lot of different meanings now that I think. But yeah, that's one of them.
And I think, you know, as a parent, I know somebody said, look, if you want to know a person, look at their friends, look at who the friends they keep, so that will show you the kind of person they are. And I think, I don't know, exposing yourself to positive experiences and positive people will create you to have more positive inspirational experiences. I mean, if you're with people that inspire you,
because you froze.
if you're with people that inspire you, then you will be inspired. So
yeah, I mean, you can increase your odds. My thought is with kids, definitely they need to be around support in supportive environments. With those of us that have vulnerabilities, we also need to be very, very careful who our friends are. When we feel a certain level, I think, of strength, we can also take risks of being around a variety of people, some of whom aren't really going to be as supportive. And so, for example, you know, in these times, let's say people don't talk to people who disagree with them. Well, I think when we can, we should interact with people who disagree with us and may not be supportive. And of course, with family, there is definitely a line. And I would draw the line at, is it healthy for me? Or is it unhealthy? So you're frozen, so it looked like I must have been frozen. So there's a line there you draw, and I would say it's not an exact science, but you do want to be around people that challenge you, but it depends on how ready you are in the moment. And there are probably some people who you never want to expose yourself to.
you know, it's interesting if you think about this whole discussion we're having. It's every emotion brings forth a new thing, and I think this one is bringing forth the idea that be careful with what you expose yourself to.
It's one of the lessons, I would say.
And be mindful of your heart so that it's open to choose to look at things in a way that if you have an open heart, you'll be inspired more.
Yeah.
And that's why I chose Ed. I mean, of all my characters, he's purple, you know. And he's fluffier than the rest of them with the ears that go down. So I thought, you know, he's going to be the one to be most inspired.
Well, what are some things that inspire you? And then I'll say some things that I'll challenge myself to say some things that inspire me that aren't the same as you said.
Well, what inspires me? Mother Teresa, the Dalai Lama, Martin Luther King, my friends who travel and just do, march to the beat of a different drummer. My friends who are environmentalists who take care of the earth and give up things so that the earth can continue. Yeah.
Okay, so midnight kayak trip was one that keeps coming back to me. Going through the Stratford Festival, going on the Stratford-on-Avon Shakespeare Festival in, where was that? Canada. Traveling, natural shapes, and a really beautiful day with a wonderful smelling breeze. And
Aunt Mescal.
What's that?
Aunt Mescal.
Oh, my 100-year-old great aunt inspires me. My family sometimes inspires me, and I probably sometimes irritate them. Yeah, hearing the wind rush through the trees, and a nice gathering inspires me. Music and art, and if you see, if you go to places where people are doing, I think social gatherings that are supported by music and other types of art are like mind-blowing inspirational. They'll take you there. You're doing it with a group, and it's like this huge connection, this wah-wah feeling you get,
Yeah.
So those are some of the things, Yes,
definitely. Yes. Beautiful. And so I think the goal in life maybe is to keep being inspired.
You got to get some rest, because I still think we're biological creatures, and that if you feel inspired for like 12 hours straight, you're going to crash at some point.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but you're not going to throw that in the kids' story anyway.
No, I think that really these books are going to be good for everybody.
Yeah, it's the rainbow of emotions. I was reading again How Emotions Are Made. I forgot her name again, but it's in the other video. Lisa Feldman Barrett, and she was talking about emotions are socially constructed. If I make a face like this, and I say to somebody I feel angry, and they say, "Oh, yeah, that's the look of anger inside of them," then we're both agreeing. And when a whole population does that, there seems to be a general agreement that this means angry. But what if I'm doing like this, and I'm saying, I'm really determined to accomplish this thing? Then that set of emotions, that set of internal biological responses that brought on that face might mean determination, and it might mean anger. It has a lot to do with the fact that we're communicating states through our expressions. And what do we call them, and what definition do we give the word that we call them? So anger sounds aggressive, but determination sounds like you're just going to trudge through the mud until you succeed.
Yeah.
And they can be very similar inside the body. So inspired. And this one is a very social one, because you got one kid riding a bike and the other one going.
Yeah, and
So
I think I'm gonna end up letting him really ride, on the hill and everything, and then they could go together down the hill.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
You could have a whole crowd going like that.
Oh, that's a good idea. I should have the other monsters,
They're singing, ride the bike, ride the bike. I don't know. Little musical notes all around. I don't know. I'm going crazy here.
This will be fun. Yeah.
Inspired is like a little bit of craziness. It's a little bit of like anything can happen,
Yeah.
So
anything.
Wonderful emotion.
Well, thank you. And I want to remind everybody that feelings aren't right or wrong. They just are.
They just are. Get it?
And I also wanted to thank Barbara Bachman for making comments on our last video about jealousy, and Bonnie Ogle from the Writers Alliance of Gainesville, and the Suzanne Byrne for also making comments, and Pat Ashton with the Ashton Biological Tortoise Preserve. And keep the comments coming, and please don't forget to like and share. And we will be following up with a sequel to all of these videos about how the books are pretty much not completed, but how some of the changes we've made in some of the books as we go along. And I look forward to talking with you next week for a new emotion. And again, this was Feelings Friday.
Feeling Friday, dealing with feeling those funky, funky feelings. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.